So we're around about that time when you started working with Vestax on the Controller One?
Yeah. So yeah, the actual Controller One was probably maybe 2003, maybe the talk started there. I'd essentially been sponsored by Vestax, or I had a relation with them from winning my first Vestax UK title. So that was like 2001. So they used to sort us out product from that point. The more I got into the PDX, the more, like I say, going back to the jam sort of nights we had in Manchester, I was always interested in representing the turntable and exploring the turntable as a musical instrument. So my thing was, if I had a relationship with a company like this, really, we needed to push them to make tools for us to advance the art form, because what's really wicked about hip-hop DJing, scratch DJing, is that we took this blueprint of a 1210 1200 turntable, which wasn't made for scratching. It was like, it's for radio DJs to stick tunes on or whatever. We took this thing and created an art form out of it. So like myself, and I'm sure quite a few others were really at a point where they were thinking maybe the tools that were being created for us should take into consideration what we're doing with this thing these days. So in chatting to the guys at UK Vestax, I always kind of let them know that, look, I've got ideas for DJ mixers, I've got ideas for turntables. I really think turntables should be designed and looked at as musical instruments, and as to advance what we're trying to do here, and more so like from the point of getting the PDX 2000, like that opened up so much more so far as pitch was concerned, because of the accuracy of the motor. I was really interested in sort of chatting with Vestax about developing like some next level turntable. So sort of fast forward a couple of years later, sort of 2003 at time probably, they actually got in touch and said, look, Vestax Japan have been talking about like developing a more musical aligned sort of turntable, and they've been talking to D Styles and this and that. Do you want to like sort of join this conversation? So I was like, well, yeah, of course. So from that point, I was sent the initial design ideas, and I was brought in on the conversation with Japan. So I, being a graphic designer originally, I already had sort of mock-ups and sort of designs of ideas of turntables and stuff like that. So I sent Vestax my drawings and ideas, and there was back and forth and stuff like that. And yeah, that's where the process began. And then sort of maybe a year later, most of the guys who were in this conversation with Vestax were invited out to showcase and perform at the World Vestax Extravaganza competition, which was in Tokyo. So we all kind of did showcases there and judged it, and also went for meetings at the headquarters about this Controller One turntable, which I'm sure most people don't know what it is. It's it's a turntable that allowed you to pitch up and down a record in musical increments, and really sort of take to the next level what you could do with pitch and on a turntable, to really sort of make it more of a melodic instrument than sort of a percussive instrument.
Yeah. So collector's items now, aren't they? Because They weren't out that long, and then Vestax went. When Vestax went bankrupt?
It was a good few years later, to be honest.
Were
When
it?
they went
Oh yeah, I'm
bankrupt.
getting my
Yeah, yeah.
hazy memories getting confused with stuff.
Yeah, it was a good few years later. I mean, one of the things I did love about Vestax was that they were interested in kind of, they weren't just interested in big mass market ideas. They were interested in developing interesting sort of concept products, you know, if you will. Um, so it, I mean, it was a niche within a niche, you know, to say I was, you know, obviously I was a turntablist, but within the turntablist scene, which was a niche because, you know, turntablism has never been mainstream.
No,
You know,
no.
like you got hip hop DJs, which, you know, like back then hip hop wasn't, you know, it was, you know, right through to like, yeah, early 2000s. It was still, yeah, you had the shiny suit era and all that lot, but what we were doing was still mega underground, you know. And within that scene, you know, somebody interested in musicality and sort of really going for it, using the turntables as an instrument was a niche within a niche, you know what I mean? So there was probably only 50 people in the world interested in something like this. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
you know, you're talking a handful of guys in the UK, handful of guys in America, handful of guys in Italy. You know, there wasn't a great deal of people who might buy one of these things even when they got made. You know what I mean? Though conceptually, for the art form, it was like a necessary, interesting project. You know what I mean? But yeah, commercially, it was never going to be like a mass market thing.
Yeah, I so regret not buying one of them though. Looking back now.
Well, I never got the sort of resistance really because a lot of people cited the price of them as
What
being.
was the price originally? I remember them being.
They were about £1,000.
Yeah.
Which these things were individually made out of wood. You know, like
Really? Right.
yeah, and
I've never
at the
seen one in
time,
person. You see, so like
yeah, at the time when they came out, this is post Serato taking over, so everybody's more than happy to drop 1,200 quid on a Mac to run the Serato.
yeah.
But like to and like and at the time mixers were edging up towards being £1,000 because they had all these sort of MIDI functions on them. And like look at sort of cutting edge scratch mixers now. You're talking £2,000
Yeah.
for a cutting edge scratch mixer. So at the time I was like, well, look at it, look at what it is. It's a handmade instrument that's like never been made before, that you can do like, you know, so many more features than a regular turntable, and it and this sort of mega limited edition. So it's like if you're willing to drop £1,000 on an MPC or on a laptop, then you know, like these are definitely worth the money. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, but yeah, it was. But even out of the turntablists who got them, I've not even seen all of them use it for what it's capable of. So I think there's a leap of faith. Like people, when you create a new instrument, which essentially it is, it's a completely new instrument. You can mix records on it. You know, you could mix two tunes together on it if you wanted to. But to actually manipulate it in the ways it can be manipulated, you've got to create a way to do that, and because it's not been done before. So I think that's why you've only ever seen, literally, you can count them on this hand, the amount of people who've used those things in an interesting way, because you had to create your own way to use it. So it's like a bit of a task. But yeah, it's been an interesting one. But yeah, it's super niche.
Yeah,
but,
definitely.
And you know, like there was a time when I was using it when I was like, I did my first ever routine with it, and I wanted to do, because you can only play one note at one point, so you can't do like literal chords on it like you can with a keyboard. So I was thinking, what's the best way to demonstrate what you can do with this melodically? So I'm like, right, I need a tune that only ever plays one note at a time, so monophonic as opposed to polyphonic.
Yep.
What's a really famous tune that's like that? And the guy at the doors used a monophonic keyboard like for a lot of his solos. So I'm like, right, I'll do the Light My Fire solo because everybody knows that. And so I did that. I had to learn to read sheet music to learn it. And I learned it, and I did a little video. I'm like, right, okay, that's something, that's the most advanced like melody that I've ever done on a turntable, like, and it's accurate, you can hum it along and like I'm getting the notes right. That's, like, to me, I was like, that's the business. Like, that's cool. Showed it my mates, like, sort of mates from Burnley, and I was thinking, I was about to make their head explode or whatever, and generally the reaction was like, yeah, it's all right, that Woody, but I prefer your other stuff. You know what I mean? I'm like, I've reinvented the wheel here, and that was really, really humbling, to be honest with you, and that really demonstrated to me the sort of magic of the turntable being a bastardized instrument.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, people see the turntable as being so magical, and I think half of that magic is that shouldn't be done.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah.
Like, that shouldn't be possible because that's a turntable and he's just done that with it. How's that possible? That's amazing. Whereas as soon as you make a turntable that's got literal notes on it, it takes away that magic.
Yeah, yeah.
And it would have been so much easier for me to learn the keyboard to play that solo than it would have been to. So I sort of played that turntable like the most finicky keyboard ever, because it was really hard work to get all the notes out of it. So I think that took a bit of magic out of it. So that made me reevaluate how I used that turntable, and rather than see it as the most awkward hard work keyboard ever created, I started looking at it as the most advanced sample manipulator ever. Like, manual. As a turntablist, you're a manual sample manipulator, because you're manipulating samples with your hands. You know what I mean? You're not hitting, and you can do so much with that, and you can inject so much humanity by doing that with your hands. So I saw that the advanced pitch function of that turntable as like a brilliant way to manipulate samples in different ways, rather than seeing it as a keyboard. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's an, like I say, interesting process learning how to actually play that thing. Do you know what I mean? But yeah. Anyway, yeah, I'm proper rambling on. But,
No, it's fine. It's good.